Okay, how's it going, everybody? What's up, Denver? Thanks to everybody who's taking the time to come out to this. Just want to start off with people who are here physically. Quick show of hands. Who here in the audience, just so I can get an idea, currently owns an NFT? Oh, this is not my slides. Where did those go? I think oh, there we go. There we go. Beautiful, that's what we're looking at. How many people here own an NFT? One more time. Okay, a bunch of people. How many people here own an NFT that is also a piece of virtual fashion? A few people. And how many people have worn that piece of virtual fashion in the Metaverse before? We got two. So we're working here. The NFT thing has progressed, very happy to hear that, but today we're gonna talk about virtual fashion and on-chain virtual fashion specifically as what I would consider the gateway drug to Web3 even, not just the Metaverse, but to Web3. So that's what we're gonna be talking about here today. Just to give you a little context of how I'm gonna structure this, I'm gonna break it down, give you a little bit of an introduction, talk about my theory on how entering the Metaverse is facilitating the NFT and Web3 boom, which we're gonna see this year, even more so in my opinion. Talk about on versus off-chain wearables, and then talk a little bit about the current state of virtual fashion versus the future. So, why am I talking to you about this? My name's David Cash. I'm the editor-in-chief of NFTs.WTF. I'm also a contributor at Vogue Singapore. I write a lot about virtual fashion in the Metaverse. I'm also the curator of Decentraland's upcoming Metaverse Fashion Week, where we're working with almost 100 different brands from around the world, both traditional and digital, and trying to present fashion in every single way humanly possible via the Metaverse. So I also did a master's thesis on NFTs, so that's kind of what got me into this space in the first place, but really passionate about this topic, and yeah, appreciate everybody being here once again. So, starting off, most of you recognize this image. Boo Zuck, all of that, yes. But, oh, my Discord keeps popping up and wanting to do something. Sorry about that, everybody. Here we go. Yeah, so everybody knows this image. We all know Zuck. And what we're doing here is, what's going on here is an example of a closed metaverse. Right? This is an example of a metaverse that is totalitarian. It's autocratic. Somebody controls it. And that's not what Web3 is all about. So, this example of a metaverse is one example. But unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, a lot of people are being introduced to the concept of a metaverse via this whole transactional system that's happening over the Facebook transaction. I wrote an article, which I called NFTs, the Trojan Horse into Meta. And this is the QR code if anybody wants to check it out after this talk. And what I said in that article, essentially, is when people enter Meta, especially if they get the chance to buy NFTs, that's going to change everything for them, because people are going to enter this space, they're going to see people wearing wearables, and they're going to buy one off-chain. And then they're going to realize that they don't actually own that item. Then they're going to go and buy another piece on-chain and actually own it as an NFT, go through that process, and actually, receive an understanding of what true ownership means in Web3. So let's break that down a little bit further. So here's a little screenshot of Decentraland. Decentraland is, like I mentioned, a company that I work with. I think they're a great example of an open metaverse, somebody who has the right philosophy in terms of what the metaverse should be. They're really about interoperability. They're thinking about an omniverse. They're not thinking about a metaverse. They don't want control. If you see Decentraland, any place that you go, if there's an NFT, if there's a piece of art, if there's a piece of virtual fashion, you can click through and go to wherever that brand wants to take you. They're not trying to keep you in a closed ecosystem. They're open to letting you explore Web3, which is really, really important. So, here's a little screenshot to give you an example. But yeah, what I call this is the virtual fashion opportunity. It's what I mentioned very briefly a moment ago. But when you come into Decentraland, let's say, or any metaverse that is virtual fashion ready, let's say, so Sandbox, Crypto Voxels, or Decentraland pretty much right now. You walk into an area, and you see a whole bunch of people all around you. And you look like this. You're a base character. You don't look very cool. You're wearing a hoodie. And a whole bunch of other people look exactly like you. And it's a bit of an experience. You're like, why do I look like this and everybody else looks like this? So, you have that moment of realization where you have this, FOMO, a real human emotion, a real human feeling. We feel this FOMO. A little closer? Cool. You feel this FOMO, and you see all these people. How do they get these cool things that they're wearing? And, the way that they do that is by buying NFTs. So, you go very quickly from this to something like this. This is my avatar in Decentraland. And, if you're going to go through that process of going from this to this, you actually have to buy several NFTs. So in the process of doing that, you have to learn how to transact on Mana, on Decentraland's, layer 2. You have, I bought this pair of artifact shoes, on OpenSea with Ethereum, right? If you're new to the space, you would have to figure out how to buy Ethereum, how to go about buying those shoes, and then even something like an airdrop. If you want to receive an airdrop, you have to have a wallet. So it's like getting these setup steps and really letting people do these introductory elements to Web3, and allowing this whole virtual fashion, this really exciting moment, to facilitate that. So when more people come into a space like this, they end up like this. So that's why I really like, differentiating on versus off-chain fashion, And this is, again, it's an issue of ownership, right? When you own something and you buy it on the blockchain, it's yours in perpetuity and it's provable. If you buy something in a video game and that video game crashes, it's gone. And most of us understand this. Also, a lot of people's kids understand this. The newer generation right now, they're very cognizant of ownership and digital ownership. And, Zuck and everything that he's doing is great for awareness. I think a whole bunch of people are Googling the metaverse for the very first time ever, which I think is a good thing. But once they start to interact in this ecosystem, they're very quickly going to realize the difference between on and off-chain NFTs, fashion, anything, any type of digital asset. And I think that's really important. So what's going on right now in the realm of digital fashion, just to wrap this up and give you guys a little bit of an idea, some places to go, some people to check out. What's going on right now and what do I think the future will look like? My personal opinion, of course. So I'd like to mention a couple different brands, just so you can see a couple different levels of fidelity, different use cases of virtual fashion. So this is Oraboris. They're a brand based out of the UK. They've shown in London Fashion Week. They're actually investee of Outlier Ventures. They've done very well in the space, and they look at themselves as a virtual couture house. So you can see this versus the Decentraland wearables we were looking at earlier. This is super high fidelity. This is made in Unreal Engine. This is like really, really high end. But as it stands right now, a wearable of this quality would not be easily wearable in somewhere like Decentraland or something like an AR filter. It would be tricky. So, that's kind of where we're at right now. I think a lot of the artwork and a lot of the creativity has, already passed the technology, which is interesting because the technology has to keep catching up, which I think is actually quite exciting. To give you another idea, we actually have Daria, who's one of the founders of DressX here. But DressX is an incredible virtual fashion company. They, popularized the idea of a meta closet or a meta wardrobe. And I think something really interesting is, where we stand right now and where we exist right now in time. Our options are relatively limited. But through apps like, through technology like AR or, through various metaverse solutions that we have right now, we can still interact with virtual wearables. And companies like DressX make that possible. So this QR code right here is actually to their app. And I have to say, as somebody who works in this space, I think they have some of the best virtual fashion AR capabilities on their app on the market. And they do make NFTs. A lot of their work is on-chain. Some of it's off-chain, but I think they really exemplify this like CDFI area that we're at right now. So highly recommend checking out DressX. And glad Daria's here too. Thank you for joining. Again, another DressX moment as well. This is a collaboration between DressX and The Fabricant. This is another manifestation of virtual fashion as it stands right now that I just wanted to mention, which is superimposing images on existing photos. So, like I showed you, if you have something that was created in Unreal Engine, even if you couldn't make it an AR filter or necessarily bring it into crypto voxels, you can still superimpose it over images. So this is a collaboration that they did actually with Google Pixel. And I believe that they were free. I don't know if they're still available, but they still are available. Oh, no, they're not. No, they're not. But they were available for free. So if you were so lucky, you would maybe have one of these awesome outfits. And then just to give you a little bit of an idea, another thing that I always like to mention, when I'm talking about the virtual fashion conversation, and the one on the left doesn't seem to want to load right now with the internet, but what's happening in this image, which is usually a video, is that these pants are blossoming with flowers. Oh, here we go. Slowly but surely. The internet's a little grouchy on us today. But what I want to talk about here is, virtual fashion, just as a concept, allows us to go beyond the realm of reality. So, when you're going into these spaces and when you're seeing people in these virtual worlds sporting virtual fashion, it doesn't necessarily have to be realistic or possible even. So I think that's a really exciting phenomenon. So you can see these pants from Artifact, they literally grow flowers. That's, it's incredible. So, as we're looking into this virtual fashion space and as we're developing forwards, especially as the technology keeps catching up, we can actually see things like this on our avatars in the metaverse. But like I said, the tech and the creativity are really kind of like fighting each other at this point because the creativity has kind of superseded the tech. So it's quite interesting. And then here's a video. Is the video going to load is really a question. I'm going to say probably not, just given the Wi-Fi. But I will send this in an email to everybody who's here after this because they gave me access to that. I won't have access to your email. I'll just be able to email you, so hopefully that's okay. Oh, here we go. Woohoo, okay. We willed it into existence. This is something I wanted to talk about, again, mentioning DressX, but this time, this is a shout out to Boson Protocol. When we're talking about the future of virtual fashion, especially in the metaverse, one thing I like to talk about is Metacommerce. So, e-commerce has been something that really revolutionized the fashion industry. It was a big shift. But Metacommerce is now, facilitating transactions in the metaverse. And I think virtual fashion is one of the big, use cases of that right now. So here's a little video. Fingers crossed that it loads. But basically what I want to show you is the Boson Protocol and companies like them are trying to enable, oh, here we go. It's loading. Amazing. They're trying to enable seamless shopping experiences within the metaverse. So you can see as we're entering this little pop-up store, you're walking up to a kiosk, and you're clicking buy, and then I think in about 6 clicks, you're going directly from Decentraland to purchasing this virtual item as an NFT. So the idea is, this is where we're at right now, but the idea is as we keep progressing further, and as we start spending more and more time in the metaverse, it'll start being easier and easier to interact and to transact in the metaverse. So as you can see, in 1 click, interoperable. He went out to a website, and now they've claimed their item. So that's kind of the process that I want to see a lot more of, or that I hope to see a lot more of in VR solutions, AR solutions, mixed reality solutions, and that's a little taste of maybe what's coming up next. I really appreciate everybody taking the time today to join us. I'm trying to figure out how to get to my next slide since this is a YouTube video, so please excuse the technical difficulties. But yeah, the last thing I want to talk about today, just before I leave you all, is something that I'm working on quite a lot. It's taken up a lot of my time, and that's Decentraland's upcoming Metaverse Fashion Week. So, as it stands, there have been different, Fashion Week solutions, let's say. We love using the word solution in this space. But, there have been a lot of people who've tried to, bring together fashion designers and, throw an event. But I personally think that this is one of the first times in history that, especially a metaverse solution, especially an on-chain metaverse solution, has brought together about 100 brands from around the world, both traditional and digital, and presented them in, I think it's over a dozen different means. So to me, that's very exciting. So as you can see, we haven't even launched our press release yet, but this event is already getting written about in places like Vogue Business, Business Insider. Hypebeast just did an article on it the other day. And what we really hope to see here is a whole bunch of people for the very first time entering the metaverse and trying it out. Because Decentraland is free to use. So we really want to see people coming in and seeing amazing use cases, getting things for free, getting things from brands like Dolce & Gabbana, potentially for free. And having that experience in the metaverse, having their first experience in the metaverse be extremely positive. And if we can do that, we hope to onboard a whole bunch more users into this on-chain ecosystem. So Decentraland Metaverse Fashion Week, it's going to happen March 24th to 27th. Announcements going out, I believe, in either yesterday or in these coming days. So yeah, hope that many of you can make it out. Again, it's free. You just need a computer with an internet connection, and you can join us. But yeah, if you want to check out some of the other futures of virtual fashion, I highly recommend you check out Metaverse Fashion Week. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their day to come and hang out with me. Another QR code. Please excuse the random white QR codes. I promise I'm not trying to hack you. That makes it more suspicious. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at DavidCash888. And yeah, appreciate everybody's time. I'll be around for questions, or if you want to ask me anything or pitch me your metaverse startup, I'd love to hear about it. So appreciate everybody taking the time. Thank you. Are we good for time? Should I do some questions, or are we about a time? Let me see. Nice. Actually, we do have time for a couple questions, I think. Does anybody have anything that they want to bring up? If not, I'm happy to head on down and answer some people IRL, one-on-one. Yeah, we got one. Where would that mic be at that we want to pass around the audience, if that's an option? Boom.
Well, thank you for speaking today. I guess my question is focused on, you brought about the topic of operability of fashion NFTs. I feel when you, as a fashion label, as a fashion designer, if you're trying to sell your digital fashion, do you have to create separate pieces altogether that match Decentraland's resolution per se? And do you have to do this separately for every single virtual world? I think you do. That's my assumption. So in the near future, how do you see this being solved? Would there be a single avatar that's operable across all fashion NFTs? Would these virtual worlds work together? Would there be one virtual world that'll kick out all competition? Like, how do you, because it's not practically possible to create separate resolution specifications for every single virtual world?
That's a really great question. Right now it's not very easy. When you do a collection, especially an NFT collection, and you want something to be interoperable, when we use that word right now, that means, airdropping a whole bunch of NFTs. At this point, you really need a Decentraland, Sandbox, CryptoVoxels, all as 3 separate wearables. And then if you want an AR filter, it's probably just going to be an unlockable off-chain, realistically, most of the time. What a lot of companies are doing, and I know that the people at Ready Player Me and a few other companies are really working towards this, but they're trying to integrate at least some metadata in their smart contracts that, when you go into some of these ecosystems, it'll already preload any NFTs that you may have bought from them. But in order for that to happen, we really have to all work together, and there has to be a lot more cooperation, especially in the metaverse space. So, like I said, the mentality of the meta mentality, of one brand owning it all really won't work if we want to facilitate that. We really need to, push for this open metaverse and collaborate and really, have portals in between different metaverses and let each metaverse have their own verticals and their own things. And if, I love seeing during Decentraland Metaverse Fashion Week, we're having apps like Spatial who are reaching out saying, hey, can we throw an event at the same week because it's Metaverse Fashion Week? And I'm like, yes, I want to see a lot more of that. So I think if we do see more of that, there is a chance that we can reach that interoperable, wearable place very soon.
So
awesome,
two-parter.
Cool.
Can you speak to any sort of motion tracking? I'm thinking of models. I'm thinking of performances with costumes,
Totally.
and how in Decentraland you have up, down, left, right. So that's my first part of the question, speaking to the motion tracking. And the second part is, what about fashion for non-humanoid forms?
Okay, great questions there. First of all, I will say in terms of motion tracking, I would say the people who are probably doing the coolest stuff right now are the people at Yahoo and Yahoo's creative studios. So they actually have full motion tracking, tech in almost all of their studios. I know I've worked with their crew in LA, and they're doing some really cool stuff. But I will also say, Decentraland for Metaverse Music Week, this happened in November, December of last year. If you saw the Paris Hilton performance, that was entirely motion tracked and ported into Decentraland. So, it's still possible. It's very new. It hasn't been tested. It's not available to the full public yet. But I will say in the next year or two, you definitely will see things like that rolling out on a higher scale, especially as people start getting, haptic gloves and things like that, and more people start interacting within this space. I think now it's just such a niche audience that the people who are doing that are in some way, connected with the metaverse solutions or with the platforms. So, yeah, that's a great question. And then the other one, I can shout out another company I'm working with, but if you go to brighthall.com, I know one of my colleagues just wrote an article about metaverse clothing for dogs. So there you have it. It's not that out there. Any other questions before we wrap this one up? If not, I'm happy to meet up with you after this. Appreciate everybody taking the time. Going once, going twice. Okay, thank you guys so much. Appreciate everybody's time. Happy ETH Denver. Take care.